That's all right. Let us start. I welcome you all. My name is Thulani Nkala. Today, we are quite pleased because we have a panel of people who will be telling us about the Phutheho Convention, the one that has been long awaited, I think maybe for 2 years or so. I would like you to introduce yourselves, please, starting with Mr. Ncube. Effie. All right, let me come to you, Dr. Hadebe.
My name is Samuel Hadebe. Thank you to be in the program, Mr. Nkala, and thanks colleagues who are part of this panel.
Okay, Mr. Moyo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Interviewer. My name is Nzimunani Emmanuel Moyo from deep down in Wulilimama.
Thank you. Mr. Fuyan.
Thank you very much, moderator or chairperson. My name is Lovemore Fuyane, more precisely Eslongo, just after Mbembeswan. Thank you, and I'm glad to be here.
All right, no, thanks very much. I think what I will do, I will just pose a question. Then you will know who is best suited to answer the question. Because we have worked together for a long time. We have seen the convention, which has taken more than a week now. Today was the last day of the Phutheho Convention. Maybe if you could just tell us the background of the Phutheho Convention. Dr. Hadebe, let me come to you.
Well, I thought my colleagues would take that one because I've talked about this before, and it will be, so much, but I'll still and still state it that the idea of Phutheho, which is a gathering, is a meeting, and we can use many other descriptions in our many languages found in Matabeleland, meaning a gathering. The idea was to get all stakeholders, be they individuals, be they communities, be it organizations, coming together to address pertinent issues, especially of underdevelopment in our region of Matabeleland that covers Bulawayo, Matabeleland South, Matabeleland North, and Midland. So it should be clear that we are talking of the holistic region. But as we have narrated before, the motivating factor was that of school children, especially the poor performances, which have become a perennial problem. But in trying to address those issues, we realized that it's beyond just the problem of the schools. It goes to infrastructure, it goes to business, it goes to issues of hunger, it goes to issues of political disunity, it goes to underperformance. So it's a holistic issue. Therefore, the idea was to say, why not come together in a non-partisan manner without taking a religious land or a creed, but just come geographically as citizens of a particular area with particular concerns to address, and we can say that has been achieved. What happened in the last 6 days was a culmination of debates, which you rightfully say, that began 2 years back, trying to come together to say, how do we articulate our own issues without pointing fingers on anyone? We're discussing our own issues, how to come out from the quagmire of the suffering, of poverty, of starvation, of poor performance, of joblessness, of political powerlessness. So it is a meeting of heads, a meeting of communities and individuals interested in seeking pathways out of this problem so that we have a unified response of voice to all these particular problems that affect the region. So we can say that was the motivation, but there are many issues and my colleagues can come in and put it different because that's how we're all co-creating it. There is no one approach or definition or explanation, but the idea is us coming together as equals and debating issues that affect us. I thank you.
You are on mute, Babankala. You are on mute.
Ah, sorry, you see.
Yes.
I'm getting too old, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was saying, if anyone has got something to add on what Dr. Hadebe has just said, please do so. If not, then let me move on to my second question. In your first session, you had invited someone from Barrosoland in Zambia, from Zambia. This gentleman said Barrosoland are facing a similar predicament to Matabeleland, and they have had a similar convention or process whereby they asked themselves a difficult question. What is the problem facing them? So you, as the people from Matabeleland, have you managed to answer that question? Over to you, Nzim.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'm not sure if I was the best one placed to answer that question, but I'll try. Look, I think actually before you came with this question, I wanted to add something to what Dr. Hadebe had said.
That's fine, you can go ahead.
Okay, great, thank you. I remember when Mr. Ngove contacted me at some point, I think you were still kind of canvassing for a name at the time. And I remember suggesting the name Luvahe, which is the Kalanga equivalent of Phutheho, which is the equivalent of the Ndebele Zulu Imbizo, I believe. So, yeah, I think really it's all about a coalescence of ideas and people saying, you know what, yes, you might belong to different political movements and persuasions and all of that. But at the core, we all share challenges that we need to address as the community of Matabeleland. And obviously for those that I've interacted with, they know some of us coming from the Kalanga side of Matabeleland. I've said, okay, fine, we will compromise and go with Matabeleland because of its historic nature of the name, which I think for now is still subject to contestation, but there is that acceptance, you know, from Venda to Victoria Falls, that, okay, maybe we might just unite in our diversity around this idea, around this concept. So I think it's really important that as Abahlali Basematabeleland, we really have that appreciation and understanding that, you know what, we might be from different communities, different nations, different political persuasions, but at the end of the day, we all face serious economic hardship. That doesn't care whether you're from Venda or you're from Nambia from Wange or, you know, Tonga from Binga. So I think really this is how I view this platform, to say It's a platform to engage and to seek ways of, working together. We obviously can never think the same. That's not going to happen. But at least, we can have this imbis or this Phutheho or this Lubahe to really thrash out these issues. Now, going back to the question of whether have we adequately answered this question, I would say yes, to a large extent, and maybe not to a smaller extent. I'm saying not to a smaller extent because obviously it was a 6-day event. Not everything could be exhaustively covered, in one session. But I think what I found very interesting was, the coalescence toward an agreement on that we as Bahlali Matabeleland, we need political power. We need to govern ourselves. In order to determine our destiny, we need self-government and self-determination. Because at the end of the day, I was reading in one of my studies that in the West, they believe that power comes from money. But unfortunately, in the global South, it tends to be the other way around, where to access money, you have power. It's a reality that we cannot run away from. If you do not have political power, as Matabeleland, there is not much we can achieve. I mean, that's why we're still going to continue to see people come from other regions to dominate affairs in our areas, from the DA's office to school heads, teachers, to even councillors. And my fear is within the next 5 years, we might end up having chiefs, from wherever. And, without political power as a region to really stand up for our positions, we might not be able to achieve much. So I think Phutheho, by allowing people to come together and make these resolutions and say, guys, now it's time to pull in a particular direction as a group, we may, to a large extent, have answered that question. Thank you.
Okay. From what you have said, I think I've picked one thing, the lack of political power. I don't know whether others, they've got other things to add on what you have said. Baba Fuya.
Thank you very much, moderator and chair. First of all, I want to acknowledge the organizers of Phutheho and really thank them. We needed something of this sort. And I'm very pleased that we eventually came out with something that looks like a freedom charter, which everybody has bought into by consensus, which is going to govern this. Let me not pretend that Matabeleland is a simple society or a very simple problem. Matabeleland is complex. Matabeleland is made up of many different ethnicities, more ethnicities than any place that I can think of on the African continent for the number of square miles that we have. And so Phutheho, I think for me, was a fantastic opportunity for that to happen, people to come together and come up with a common position, a common template. I-template daneza ukuthi khona nxa kulomuntu ofuna ukuduha.
Baba Fuya,
yes.
Sorry, I will have to call you to order. I know we are coming to resolutions, the Freedom Charter and the like. But now, where I am is I would like to understand that you have managed to define the problem that as Matabeleland is facing. What is it? What is the problem that you are facing as people of Matabeleland right now that has compelled you to come together?
Well, we are facing extinction as a people of Matabeleland. And there's a number of reasons why.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, one of them is just the way the whole liberation struggle panned out and where ZAPU stood and where ZANU stood, but also the fact that we're so diverse and so easy to divide, if I can use those words. So yeah, that's really where we are. And,
okay, that's fine. Is Mr. Mr. Ngube, are you there?
I think network is letting down.
Yeah, it's letting him down. Okay. All right. He is not responding, so it's okay. I don't know whether Dr. Hadebe, you want to add on that in terms of the problem that we are really, or the people of Matabeleland are really facing, which you needed to answer in this 6-day convention.
We have put it directly that we are facing a problem that threatens our very existence. We are not only poor, we are getting poorer to a point that none of us would be found in any workplace you can think of, be it a police station, be it a migration border post area, be it packing goods in a shop, in a supermarket, be it sweeping, be it a messenger, be it driving taxis. So economically, that's the direction we think we are degenerating into. In terms of justice, linguistic justice, our languages are phasing out, right? Which is part of the reason why our children are failing. Our species, we are losing our species. The genocide that hit Matabeleland, which the world was in denial, but the reality is we went through a genocide and there's still no justice, which is also affecting our economies, affecting social lives. We've broken social infrastructure, partly because of that genocide. That heritage, that liberation heritage that Comrade Fuyan was talking about has totally been erased. This issue of the ethnic complex of Matabeleland is partly explained by that genocide. So these are realities. Politically, Comrade Nzimu just mentioned that perhaps we are going to have chiefs coming from other regions. Comrade Nzimu, it is already happening. We can find cases where people are refusing our local chiefs. They want to bring chiefs from other regions. Saying political decline, economically, social integration. So that existence, our very existence is under threat. Hence the need to say, because we are all threatened equally, whether you are in Binga, whether you are in Cholocho, whether you are in Badbridge, whether you are in Bulilima. Therefore, we have to ourselves come together and address that problem. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks very much for that. The Phutheho Convention is a historical and significant event in the life of Matabeleland. In order for it to be successful going forward, I think it will greatly depend on the processes that you undertook in convening it. Was it an inclusive process or not? So if you could briefly tell me what you did in order to convene Phutheho, who did you involve in the whole process? Thank you.
I might come in there first, but my colleagues can come in because we all came into Phutheho from different angles and our experience is different. But what we should underline is that those you saw running around, and I'm one of those who have been running around. Comrade Nzimu here is one of the people who have been running around. Comrade Shasha Moses, you are here, been running around. Comrade Fuyan has been running on different angles, doing something. It doesn't mean we are the owners of the program. Actually, Phutheho, we can see it as a 2-year campaign or canvassing for this particular gathering. But the effort to unite Matabeleland is as old as you can remember. The efforts to bring progress, to help the girl child or the boy child, to help preserve the environment, to help unite political players has been done by many people. If we start listing the efforts, we will spend the whole day. So the idea of coming together was just a call to say, for now, let's not carry an agenda to the people. Let's first gather, the people would set the agenda. That was the only difference. But Phutheho is not the originator of the idea of Matabeleland unit. We can list many efforts that are continuing to be done, that were done in the past. And some of the players who are here, whom we call the runners, have been running in other various platforms and processes to bring this platform. So that we've managed to get where we are today. We don't owe it to those you see around. We owe it to many, and we've always mentioned that there are many people who made it possible. Everyone has been doing something. But the idea is, if you are organizing, you start with those you know, wherever you are, whether you are trying to call for a church gathering or a club or whatever, you start with those you know, those you are safe with, those you believe also share the same sentiment, and the message moves. But when the call for the convention was done, it was made public because it was shared in public platforms, which meant that no one can say they knocked at this door and they left me out, because no one leaves you out. It was said from the beginning, this belongs to no one. And up to now, I think those who have been part of the running know that the processes have been such that whether you started with it January 2019 or February 2021, when you get there, you have a task, you have a duty, because there are processes that are followed and they are being laid down, they are being spelled out, they are being written down, so that you can come in and say, no, 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 you are missing the point. This is not how we want our thing done. People talk it as their thing. So that way we are saying the message might not reach all the corners, all the stakeholders at the same time. We are conscious of that, but it's a process. We cannot put ourselves the deadline of this Phutheho. It's a process that is a lifelong. So we are saying perhaps the next Phutheho, when it comes, more people would have reached and more people would have acted. And there are many other tasks that came out, as we are going to discuss, that will need different players, different skill set, different combination of all those things. Therefore, it's a process where we are saying, let's lay down the rules. Once we lay down the rules, whether I'm not there when the rules are laid down, when I come in, I first play by those rules, then I can add or subtract what is there. But you don't stand aloof when you talk about your own existential threat and leave it to anyone, because no one has a more obligation than others. We are all bona fide citizens of Matabeleland, wherever we are. And I should say, as one of the people who have been part of the running team, personally, I am impressed by the colleagues, some of them who are here, some we can mention, it in Matabeleland itself, in Papua in general, in SA, in UK, in USA, and many other places, who stood up to this. Some of them, people have only met virtual because of the COVID. It so happened that the whole of last year was a COVID period, but work had to proceed. So you can see that the call to come together, it resonated with many people because they've been working in their own right. So when they came in and advised and gave whatever support, they contributed to this realization. It doesn't mean those who you see faces, you see a hard day, but then you think it's their idea, they've done the running, they've done, no, we are only the faces now because we happen to be. But it is a culmination of years of work by many people. Some we might not even know we are yet to know to say, but so and so was doing this because people are bringing in that information. Thank you.
Yeah, people can add on what you have just said regarding the process of Phutheho, maybe before the convention. What efforts were made to make sure that everyone was included? Baba Mo.
Well, I'm hoping that if he would answer that question.
Is he there? No.
When I looked, checked, it looked like he was there.
No, he's not there.
Oh, okay, he has left. Yeah, I think I jumped on a bus that was already in motion, so there isn't much that I can add on what Dr. Hatib has already said.
Okay, that's fine. Baba Fuyan, do you have anything to add on that?
No, not at this point in time, moderator. I think all the bases have been covered.
All right. Now, starting from the first session of the Phutheho up to today, the last day, who can tell me amongst yourselves what was done, what was the format of the convention? And do you feel that the format helped you to achieve your objectives?
Maybe I come in because I was part of the Phutheho Convention Committee, which is more or less like the secretariat to the whole work. If one goes to our literature, the publicity that came before, one would realize that the format of the convention itself transformed tremendously due to our circumstances. Initially, when we set it for the 10th of August, it was a one-day affair. Not that in one day we could have addressed the issues which we did in 6 days, but we're being realistic. We are a poor region that bringing people and keeping them longer in Bulawayo was not going to be possible. So we had to be realistic. But what did we do as part of the running team was to start the debates. So literally for the whole of the year, the debates were going on. But of course, you talked about representation in a restricted manner, in the fact that we could not reach out because there was time when you were not even allowed to gather as 10 people. So you could see that the debates were going on in the various communities where people could, but mainly through virtual means. And that meant the Phutheho had already begun. So by the time we got to the actual Phutheho process, this 6-day period, the issues had come out, and the issues were being publicized through our various platforms, but more so the newsletter, which we call Phutheho News, where whatever views were coming in, they were publicized for other stakeholders to come in. But then the period happened is that the opening session, which marked the beginning of the process, we already had so much in terms of proposals that had come in, which were constituted in what we used to call the Phutheho working paper. These were the contributions from various stakeholders. We even have a list of the contributors to a point that you can see one item on land and assume it was contributed by one person, but it could have been maybe 30 or so people contributing on the same issue. But all these things have to be harmonized for the sake of debate and discussion and the easy and to make it user-friendly for reference. So when we got to the Phutheho itself, to the convention itself, it was now to finalize, to take decisions on issues that have been discussed. And we realized by the time we got to Phutheho that the things that had been raised, because initially to avoid a situation of being locked in personal arguments, we said, if you propose, we don't list your name. Otherwise, people would say, because I don't like Fuyane the person, even if his idea is brilliant, I start opposing. So we didn't put the names of the proponents, but we had hoped initially these names will come in during the Phutheho to say, this motion, but it transformed, as I say. So on the social side, the educational issues, transport issues, gender issues, environmental issues, we realized that the issue that people were raising, there were no counter proposals, because we said, instead of you saying, I don't want what Mr. Nkala has raised, you just raise your own argument on the similar topic. As we read, people can tell that this is in tangent with what the earlier proposal had done. But we've realized that the bulk of them, almost 95% of them, there was no controversy on those issues. Hence, it was easy when even the charters were drafted and other side principles, because people would actually go along with. So the idea of the Phutheho was now to come out with an implementation matrix. Hence, Monday to Thursday, it was the different thematic committees, which we used to call working groups or commissions. That did not start this work during these 6 days, but if you could see from our newsletter, they were releasing. Actually, Phutheho has been organized in committees, many committees, right? Comrade Zim is part of that committee in different works, and many other places. Only is heading the UK side, but it's also in one of the committees. So that's how Phutheho is organized. So we are saying, then the bulk of the work had to now come out with an implementation. We had said earlier on, and we were consistent on that no new idea will come in a meeting, because that would be like hijacking people. We already assembled. You start bringing a new case when you had the whole year. So we had to stick to what was already in public domain, what was already under discussion. But now the experts and the committees were now to look at, people say they want free education. What are the modalities of arriving at that? People want a harmonized, unified, powerful political actor. How do we do that? So the Phutheho process was now about the program of action. Some would ask, what will be the agenda? We said, no, the agenda was set last year. When people said, you want to talk about this, the agenda was clear. Now it was to say, how to implement that which came from the public through their contribution, and which was put in a document which is still in the public domain. Therefore, those were the processes. And after every session, the Phutheho Convention Committee will release the key highlights, so that people started from Monday to familiarize themselves with the implementation matrix of what they already knew as part of the proposed issues, so that by Thursday, whatever needed to be in the public domain had to be released day in, day out after every session, so that the final day, which was the plenary, that's why it became the plenary, because we were all aware of what was the issue. So if there are any issues that were raised on Monday you didn't like, or on Tuesday or on Wednesday, you note them down, that was the day to say, colleagues, this is not the route. I think from what I know, or from my research, or from my contacts, this is the best way things will be done, because the idea is, in job the best idea must be put to test in a public contest, and the best idea must win, because in the end of the day, all of us must benefit. So that way was the rundown of the process. And this is not something that people were told on the opening day on the 9th. No, it was spelled long back to say, this is how the process will be done. I remember on Monday, people were saying, we want to join the working group. So but the call for joining working groups was done almost 6 months back. And you can't just join a working group that has been working on gender issues for all this period. What will you do? Let them continue and finish the work. If you have something to add, when it comes out, you say, okay, you have 7 points on this. I think I have 2 more points. I put it in. That way we create an orderly system. Because unless you set a process that is easy to monitor, that is easy to say, ideas can come in. And if there are things that you want to throw out, there is a point where you can engage it and say, this does not add in. For instance, I can go on and maybe, in fact, I think both Comrade Tim and they Love More can come in on the issue of the charter, for instance, right? When it came out as a draft, they started engaging, and they engaged so fruitful. Perhaps I would state that the suggestion that you made, Comrade Fuyane, I had also engaged the working group, and you say it as if we had shared, but we had not shared this in advance. So it shows that when people are engaging, certain things come and certain trends are established, and that is the way. And by the way, this engagement can't end, because in any conference, in any convention, people can come only in a representative capacity. Eventually, you still have to go back to the bigger constituent society at large, our region at large, and they still take this back. The engagement must continue so that it becomes shared. People see what is it that was suggested and agreed upon, so that there is that collective buy-in, because this does not belong to the Phutheho Convention Committee. It was only doing it on behalf of larger society. So that engagement continues. If something that would have been agreed, society says, no, you agreed on this one, but this is how we're expecting it. It belongs to them. That's why we said we can't take a vote. Everyone must come in and agree on the way forward. Because what is the point of taking a vote if there is that one loser? What do you do with that one loser? She or he belongs to Matabeleland and must be on board. I think my comrades can come in because they engaged on some of those processes, especially when the draft charter came out then, and they raised very valid arguments and points that you felt, people are really engaging. Thank you.
Okay, maybe before they come in, I think let us now move on to resolutions that were adopted. Which are those resolutions? I know the Matabeleland Freedom Charter is part of those resolutions. So maybe if we can give an overview of the resolutions which were made, that will be good. Then we can zero in to one or two of those, particularly the Freedom Charter. We're going to delve deeper into it. Thank you.
Well, it appears to me that Mr. Ngube is in the meeting, Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Ngube, if you are in the meeting.
He appears to be muted.
He hasn't said anything. Yeah, he's in the meeting.
Yeah.
Baba Ngube. Baba Ngube. Aye. No, you can go ahead, Baba Nzim.
Don't you want to give the other two gentlemen or three, or the other two to speak? Looks like they.
No. Those, the other ones, I think they are not part of the panel, but I will give them an opportunity.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I will give them an opportunity.
Okay, great, thank you. I would have wished for Mr. Ngube to address this point, because obviously being in the Secretariat, they are closer to most of the detail. But I think I might want to really zero in on two. Obviously, quite a number of things have been raised, but I think one of the two most critical that came, like I said at the beginning, the issue of self-government and self-determination, political power for the region. There is that, recognition that for Matabeleland to move forward, we really need to be strong. We need a solid voice to speak to our issues and to pursue our issues. Now, obviously, it would have been a contentious issue to say, what is the preferred way to move forward? Do you pursue federalism, devolution, what some call restoration, or do you, in the meantime, just agree that, okay, what we all agree on is that we need self-government, we need self-determination, but as we go into the implementation, then we'll have to decide on what is not only ideal, but is also a viable path to victory. So there is that recognition really amongst a lot of people that, most of us, I believe except I guess, Abanda Bafana, Boba Bulldog, Vincent Abumzila, that were in the liberation struggle themselves. But from what I see, a lot of us, we were still kids, or maybe even born around that time when the country attained independence. But we have heard and do fondly remember when ZAPU swept through the region and became a strong voice. But we now recognize that we do not have that kind of voice at the moment. And one of the resolutions really is that Matabeleland, from, as I like to say, from Venda to Victoria Falls, from the Shasha in the west to the Shangaan and beyond in the east, there is a need for that kind of solid voice, political voice. And secondly, from one of the presentations that was done on the first day by Tatem Dong, but which, as Dr. Hadeb has already mentioned, people had already been speaking to, was the issue of economic power, that financial freedom, if I can put it just to say economics and finance maybe. There is a recognition that we need as a region.
Okay. Before you come to the economic one, let's talk about the political one. Because you had already stated that one of the major problems facing Matabeleland is the lack of political power. But from what you are telling me now, it seems you haven't decided how you are going to attain that political power. Is that fair observation or not?
Well, I'm not sure if I can say we haven't decided, because I do not know if that was, I'm not sure if I can answer to the question of whether this was the mandate of the convention to make that decision. These issues did come up during the convention. Of course, I need to say some of the days I wasn't there because of the nature of my job, but the resolution and the recognition that we need to have this political power, but in a forum like this, you don't want to make those kinds of decisions, which is why you had all the thematic groups. I believe Dr. Hadebe will respond to this also. But you had all the different working groups, and I believe and understand that going forward, we will have these thematic groups really now digging into these issues to say, okay, guys, what is the best way to, seize this power? A freedom charter can only say, this is what we want, but it may not be able to go into detail to say, okay, we are gonna pursue a monarchical system, or, we're gonna have a part with so many people, blah, blah. All those details will come from each of the working groups that is gonna deal with, I believe there's gonna be one dealing with the political side of issues, economic side of issues, but I don't wanna go into too much detail here unless I misrepresent the convention, I think I would like to, in the absence of Effie, I would rather defer to Dr. Phutheho on this one.
Okay, Dr. Phutheho.
I think you are correct, Mr. Moyo, on that one. You are dead right, because what was the mandate of the convention? It was to bring the stakeholders to chart a pathway out of our unfortunate situation we find ourselves in now. And if you go to the working committee, working group's position on governance, there was a clear point underlining the convergence.
Mm-hmm.
But what does that mean? That takes into cognizance, if you look at the wording, that already we have many different players.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't think that the presence of the many players on its own is symptomatic of us being weak. We are saying now that we have a clear program of moving in a clear direction, that we are sure the majority of Matabeleland believes that's the way out. Then the process from now, as Comrade states it, is to say those who would be tasked with steering that dimension, that direction of political convergence, are the ones who have to see to say, what do we do with these resources? Let's take these various political formations and the actors as part of Matabeleland resources towards resolving a situation of Matabeleland regaining its political space, which no one doubts we have lost it. And why we lost it, we know the history, but now we are not going to go that route. We are saying we now identify all the players, past, present, and perhaps future, and they see how this convergence comes in. There are some people who might have been standing on the fence saying, why should we listen to this? We want to see whether these people are actually serious. And now the conclusion of a 6-day convention and the outcome and the robust engagement is telling us the people are serious. So everyone now has to come on board on the political side, on the economic side, on the justice side, on the social, cultural issues, as it were, because so many proposals have been done on various institutions that Phutheho has given birth to. And those have to be populated by men and women and youth from Matabeleland, both in Matabeleland as well as throughout its diaspora, which means that the pathway to regaining our political space, I think, is clear. There is no doubt. But the question is, as we move forward, what do we do with this work which is being done by Group A, that work which is done by Group B? We can't dictate as the stakeholders from Matabeleland. We can only argue, we can only persuade, but we have already taken a direction. The direction we have taken, I don't think we'll turn back or look aside. We are moving in that direction. And personally, I do not see anyone from our region opposing the issue of our political unit. All people throughout the world who want to have an impact, and especially who are threatened like us with our own existence, would see the need of unity in terms of what we do. Unity doesn't mean we should think alike, doesn't mean we should belong to one club, doesn't mean, but it means, at least in terms of the trust, our priorities, and what we should do, we do it collectively. I think that one is clear. Thank you.
Baba Fuyan. Baba Fuyan.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Yes, I think there's a couple of things that I would like to just touch on. But the first one is something that I observed in my interactions on social media. Comrade Moyo and myself are very familiar with that sort of space. We're very active in there. But one of the things that really concerned me is that, especially when I spoke about the issues pertaining to Matabeleland specifically, there were some of our own young people who did not understand why people like myself and Mr. Moyo and others would be saying what we're saying. And in their minds, this concept of self-determination is something that needs to be negotiated and begged for with a certain group of people in Harare before it's acquired. So there's a bit of a gap between the required level of understanding of what self-determination actually entails and any other alternative forms of government. So, in my view, self-determination entails ukuthi khona wena ngokwakho or thina njengezizalwane zaseMatabeleland sikhetha ukuthi sibushwe ngumbuso onje, and it is our right. Nobody has to give it to us. It's God-given. And so for me, I found that to be a bit of a problem, that our own people did not understand that. And unless you get them to that level of consciousness, we're always going to have that problem, that we will not be able to create the critical mass to get this thing going. Our own people, never mind abantu bewethu laseBuhera and whatnot, and what they think and whether or not they think we can demand self-determination or they think they are emperors, etc., etc. I'm more worried about the critical mass that needs to come from our own people, knowing good corner they actually have a right to certain things. Thank you very much.
Excellent, excellent. Maybe my last question under that resolution of gaining political power. I read it maybe partially. It proposed a Congress around October time this year. And it also proposed a formation of a Freedom Alliance movement. If one of you doesn't mind, because what we don't want people missing here is they end up having some misconceptions that a political party is being formed, while here is a movement. Maybe if you can just explain what will be the difference, what will be the mechanisms of bringing different stakeholders under this resolution.
Yeah, I think it's very important to have that clarity and also to cement what Comrade Fuyane has just raised in terms of sometimes our gaps in understanding certain concepts, and sometimes it's not even understanding. It's a situation that is typical of all oppressed people to have self-doubt, to feel there are things they cannot do unless their neighbor approves of them. But we are saying the spirit of Phutheho is that we ask it from no one. That's why we said we're not going to petition anyone. We are discussing, resolving, and acting. And that is what we are going to do henceforth, because we agreed from the onset that we are not going to beg anyone. No one has listened to us, even when the genocide was being perpetrated to us. No one saved us. Countries we don't want to mention, our neighbors, they were deporting us back to the slaughterhouse. So we are saying, by coming together as Phutheho, we are already in the self-determination mode. We are our own liberators. We decide our destiny, take decisions, live by them, live or die by them, whichever is the case. That is the spirit where we are, because we are threatened. So if you go to that resolution, I think it is very clear that what is being established through that resolution is a broadly representative steering committee, which will be named and publicized. Why is this steering committee? Is to ensure that the mobilizing, the bringing together of the various, because we have already agreed we must go in a particular direction to save ourselves. So the steering committee must be representative. If it is not representative enough, the stakeholders must come in and say, oh, there is a section of our community that we feel must come in. That is very important, because when we talk of being a representative a forum organ, we are not talking of numbers. As the people of Matabeleland, we don't believe in numbers. We believe in us all. No one is excluded because we are counting heads. What will this do? It will facilitate the coming together of all the democratic forces, and hence the call for a particular political gathering, which is a Congress. Phutheho was not a political gathering. We have to be clear. But the political programs that emanated from the Phutheho process must be taken out of the Phutheho and be dealt with separately in a political forum, where some of us who are novices, who are not good in politics, we also observe from a distance, in the same manner that there is a proposal for setting a mutual fund, setting a Matabeleland bank, setting insurance and saving credits and credits corps. Those with the expertise and the know-how and the passion will have to be part of the steering committee to make it happen. If they come to me and say, we want a dollar or a rand contribution, that will be my role, because that's what I belong to. But then that steering committee and the terms of reference that will have to be publicly agreed as to the way forward should be the process we follow. By the way, we should not also create processes and systems that are going to boggle us down, that are going to limit us down. Remember, there are forces against the unit of Matabeleland, both within and external. So whatever processes and mechanisms we put for the pathways out of this situation, we should be cognizant that we don't put things that trap us into retrogression, that we go back, we demobilize ourselves. So it's very important that we are alive to that process. And as the dates have been said and the proposal have been put, that process must be seen through. But in the drafts, because the drafts were put and done before the meeting, certain titles and terms had to be used for us to debate. And the title that was used for this was a freedom of alliance, which shows the struggle is always for freedom in whatever angle, whether from the economic, the political, the justice side, and we call it an alliance. But when it is actually being implemented and done, it will get its proper designation, proper title, because there will be a team that will be working on a representative team. The same applies on the economic side. When we talk of Matabeleland Bank, that's just a name that is being used in the draft. When we talk of a Matabeleland mutual fund, it will be named different, obvious, by those who will be tasked with making sure it goes into fruition. So the thing is, we could not have met as Phutheho without setting parameters and the timelines and targets. Otherwise, it would have degenerated into a talk show of very angry people who are not prepared to do something. But here we have to ensure that the debates bear fruit. We have to have something that has to be done. It won't be the perfect route, perhaps, but when it's being done, it will be perfected as we go. As it is, we said, no one had a picture of this Phutheho 2 years back, nor even 6 months back. So we have no clue how Matabeleland will look like in November, December. But we are envisaging, we are aspiring towards something, and we start there and say, let's set a political meeting to address political issues, economic meetings to address economic issues, and that is the big output or product from Phutheho, because Phutheho has given birth to these processes across the board. And the political one is just one of them. But an important one, as Comrade Tim said, that without that political aspect, all these good things, which goes back to the question you asked Mr. Nkala about what Ambassador Kalaluka said, to say, have you really identified your problem? He was asking about the problem in order to see whether we are clear as to what solution lies ahead to say, we are talking about poverty, we are talking about school rate failure, we are talking about the lack of books, lack of libraries, lack of laboratories and the like. Are we really aware that the problem is bigger than just this school poor performance? It also has political economic issues, but it also has a political aspect of it. So that way, all these collectively respond to the present condition of Matabeleland. I thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Dr. Hatte. Mr. Fuyani, I think your hand was up.
Yes, it was, but I believe Umnumzanu Khatebe has actually addressed a lot of issues that I was going to raise. So, no, it's fine. Yeah.
No, that's fine. Thanks a lot. Baba Moy, I know you wanted to talk about the resolution on economics or economy.
It so happens that Dr. Hadeb has already addressed that, actually.
Yeah, already addressed that.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. In around 1950s, the ANC and the other stakeholders, they sought to really understand what kind of freedoms their people really wanted. ANC sent out something like 50,000 people to go to the people and ask them what is it exactly that they want in terms of freedoms. So I see, in fact, then in 1955, they convened a big meeting whereby they came up with what they called a freedom charter. And now I'm realizing that Phutheho has come up with what you have termed the Matabeleland Freedom Charter. In terms of its compilation, was it inclusive enough to an extent whereby you feel that the views of the people were gathered adequately? Baba Emoy.
I'm not sure if I'm going to adequately answer that question. You know, how I so wish, excuse me, Mr. Nzivu was on board right now, because you're the best placed to answer that question. But as Dr. Hatebe has indicated earlier on, this is a process that has been going on for a long time, and it had to take many different forms because of the challenges partly presented by COVID, but also, you know, all the dynamics that we know in the economic situation of the region, the political situation, and all of that, as well as the fact that we are all, you know, based in many different parts of the world. And I think the near equivalent, I would just say the equivalent of what the ANC did back then, you know, the engagements that took place on social media, WhatsApp groups, Facebook, the various meetings that happened, whether it's face-to-face or, you know, through Phutheho News, all the contributions. So one can say it is quite fairly representative. I mean, you really had a broad cross-section of society. It is, of course, a fact of life that you can never be able to gather everyone's views. You can only hope that, you know, through many ways of engaging, you will at least, is done in research, you know, get a sample that is fairly representative. So we believe that, you know, with all the engagements that have been ongoing throughout this time, Phutheho can actually be said to have come up with resolutions that are fairly representative. And So when we talk about Matabeleland freedom, we can confidently say that, yes, this is what the people of Matabeleland want. Now, do they all agree? As Dr. Hadebe said, people agree, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they all want exactly the same way of doing things. But the ultimate goal of freedom, the ultimate goal of shared economic prosperity in the region, the ultimate goal of, our children getting, a good education, better healthcare, a good infrastructure development, all of that, people are in agreement. And of course, the modalities and the details and everything, that will be thrashed out as we go forward. But what we can confidently say right now is we believe this freedom charter, based on the processes that were engaged in to get to this convention and to this outcome, is quite representative of the aspirations of the various peoples of Matabeleland. Thank you.
I don't know whether any one of your colleagues would like to add on what we have just said.
To add on that, I can say unequivocally that any patriotic Matabelelander had an opportunity. In 2 years' time, you can't say we have not heard. But I don't doubt that there are some of our best brains somewhere who are not passionate, who are not willing. So there is no way you can tap from their experience, their expertise, and all that. But we are saying those who are passionate, they came up, they commented, they contributed. Also, the other aspect, the other advantage, he was engaging our political leaders. Matabeleland has quite a number of political formations. In our newsletter, every 2 weeks, we used to cover these political leaders mainly. And we got their views, which are obviously representative of the views of some of their political parties, because that's why we interviewed the leaders of the parties. And all that was part of getting the sentiment, getting the view. And I agree with the comrade Zimu that even in any research, you get a representative a section that you say, with this piece of evidence, I think I can generalize without really deviating from what the standard norm will turn out to be. So we have no fear that those who are passionate about solving this problem now stood up. They didn't need to know Comrade Nhlanhla Moses Ncube, or to know Love Mofiano, or to know Zimu, or to know Paul Ncube, or to know Effie Ncube and the like. No, people, they looked at the numbers which we were flighting in our newsletters, and they will phone and say, we want this thing to be done this way. We don't want that. There are many things that people spelled out, say, we just don't want that. Or you don't behave like this if you are doing this job. So the guidance from our people, from our clergy, from our elders, from our veterans, from our chiefs, by the way, people think we will do this thing without consulting our traditional leaders. No, we are not that disrespectful. But for reasons best known to us in Matabeleland, we know you don't mention certain names, but we are saying the fact that we've gone this far and gone successful, it shows that those who matter are supporting it. So we are saying the Matabeleland Freedom Charter could not be the best document now, but we are saying the fact that we have agreed that it becomes a starting point, it means people will populate it. If they are missing elements, it means people will populate it. But as we move forward, you could see that the tasks that are set ahead are the ones that will finalize certain things. For instance, if you ask people and say, what is the favorite color for Matabeleland? Definitely we can't have one. But when we sit around the table, someone will bring blue, someone yellow, someone purple, even red, someone white, someone black. But when we sit around the table, we will come on with something that is agreeable. But now you can't come and declare that this is what should be done. It's a negotiation process, which is why we say it's consensus building. And when we came for Phutheho, we didn't come with preconceived ideas. Similarly, when we move forward, we don't go with the fixed position that are not changing, because the reality, when you go out there, you find a different reality. And that reality changes how we do things, because that's the reality, and that's what the dictates will be. And certain things do really change, and you tell people that we didn't expect this. I've said it in your forum, Mr. Nkala, that when I heard people are calling this program Phutheho, I said, what is that? So one day I had to come before you and you're asking me, what is Phutheho? I couldn't tell you that. By the way, I also didn't know what Phutheho was. You get the point. But I was sent to go and defend what Phutheho is, what it stands for. I wasn't there when it was suggested. I didn't know that what the word meant, because it was not in my mother tongue. But that's how the process is. There are certain things that are done in a certain way. The collective, we believe in the collective. And as the collective decides, we take it. What has to be removed, we remove, but it must be consensus building. And that way, we are not saying we are not going to fall along the way, but we are saying we will fall and rise, because someone will come and say, no, we used the wrong route, take this route. As long as it remains a people-driven project, as long as it remains open to stakeholders, it's never put in Matabeleland's pocket, there is no way it will fail. But once it becomes personalized, once it's reduced, once it belongs to so and so, then people will sit back and say, let him or let her do it. So we have said there is no Moses, Comrade Shasha Moses, we have said there is no Moses for Matabeleland. We are all our own liberators. Once we have that mentality, we contribute freely, because I know whatever I'm contributing is what I'm passionate about and what I think I know best. Someone will come in, do the same, and we move on. So that must be the spirit.
Okay, thanks very much. Yeah, I think now I will go to Mpho Ncube to ask a question or to comment about anything that he wants to comment about regarding Phutheho. Baba Ncube.
Yeah, Baba Nkala. Yes, thank you for the opportunity and affording us this opportunity to talk about this wonderful initiative that is Phutheho. Now, I think my colleagues have spoken articulately about the genesis of Phutheho, the programs, the deliberations, which culminated in this 6-day convention that finished just today. Now, Mina, I think what I will say, Baba Nkala, is a brief comment on something that you brought up yourself, which is the Freedom Charter. Now, for me, while the entire Phutheho framework, is important, all the elements feed into each other, to move it forward. But Mina, I will talk about the Freedom Charter as the foundation, in my view. Because if you look at history, look at the American founding fathers with their Declaration of Independence. Look at the ANC with their Freedom Charter. These were statements of intent, that were announced to the whole world to say, this is who we are. And because of our situation, because of our aspirations, we have decided to take the following steps. That put those struggles, firmly on the world stage. And I think what Phutheho has done with that Freedom Charter puts us in that league. Uguti, we have said to the whole world, this is our statement of intent. And because of our lived experience as the people of Matabeleland, we have resolved to come together and do the following things, which we list in the Freedom Charter. So for me, there's no greater, as a first step, I really commend the people who worked on the Freedom Charter. Now, what we should now be saying to the people of Matabeleland and to the global international community is that, look, Matabeleland is on the world map now. It is no longer just a byword, in terms of Zimbabwe. Okay, there's just a region called Matabeleland. No, we have moved it beyond that to say we are a people that are a special case because of our special circumstances, and for us to, to say we're a special case, Babankala, it is when, for me, there's a simple determination, which is if wena nje uhleli lapho Babankala emzini wakho ngibe mina ngihlala ngibuya insuku zonke wena uzithulele, and I keep coming to your home and I smash the windows, I take your food, and when I was telling you are thinking, but why are you doing this? Why can't you just leave me alone, to live my life? I keep coming back, focusing on you and your household, making sure that you have no food, and this is what has been happening to us as the people of Matabeleland. That special focus, that those who wish to see, starting from 1893, when the kingdom was destroyed, right up to 1980, and continuing again from 1980 to date, these forces have continued to focus on us, have continued to attack us. And therefore, that makes us a special case, not in their eyes, no, but we are saying, Tina, we are a special case in terms of the Zimbabwe geopolitical space. So what we then say we want to do with that declaration, that statement of Matabeleland being a special case, we're saying to Abantu Bakithi, first and foremost, because we need the buy-in of Abantu Bakithi, we're saying, look at yourselves in the same league as the Palestinians. But what is happening in Palestine is wrong. Israel is an occupying state, and all of that. Now, once we start to see ourselves in that way, we then take ownership, as we have begun to do with the Phutheho, of the solutions, not just to be put in, in this, like what has been happening in the past 40 years or so, where it's just, no, listen, if there is economic hardship in Zimbabwe, in everywhere in Zimbabwe, so we say, oh no, look at us letting up, or there's hardship. But what, Matabeleland, why do you want to say that, Lina? No, Tina, it has been the case since 1893, and that intensified since 1980. You see, so we cannot be placed in the same league as the other regions in Zimbabwe. So that being said, this declaration, this Freedom Charter, is a perfect opportunity for us as the people of Matabeleland to say our struggle for freedom, our struggle for equal rights has gone to another level now. We have said to the world, look at us while we try and find solutions to our own problems. And if we need you, and this is to the international community, if we need you, then we will expect you to offer us that help in the same way that you are doing to the Palestinians and other oppressed peoples of the world. So
okay, yeah, I think you have articulated the Freedom Charter very, very well. Thanks very much. I think I will need to talk to you on one-to-one just to talk about the Freedom Charter one day. For now, could I ask Mr. Ncube Moses to either ask a question or say anything that he wants to say about the Phutheho Convention.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Baba Unkala, for the opportunity. I would like to talk about how to achieve political power. This is motivated by the fact that in my presentation, I argued that for us to achieve everything, we need political power. So how to achieve it? One, get people to your side. We need to have people on our side, ordinary people like me, just from Kai. You think of professionals, you think of politicians, you think of academics. You get people onto your side, you are like ingwenya inamanzi in a way. Then two, pulling the vote together will also help. By pulling the vote together, we are saying all the Matabeleland vote is getting into one basket. Then now we get to the modalities of how to have the vote being pulled there. And then we take it as the popular initiative. We make, which is an initiative by the people. We make people own it. It becomes their initiative. People see themselves as driving the Phutheho. They are the ones who are driving their freedom charter, as it were. And then from there, we do what we call further mobilization, where we are now thinking about the region, we are thinking about SADC, we are thinking about Africa and the world. We need to reach out there. Political power needs people to be aware of your struggle, as it were. Then we need the unity, which we can call the unity of individuals and organizations, which means that me and you, Babunkala, we unite. And as we unite, we might find that I'm belonging to some organization. Then our organizations are also coming together. They are forming that kind of a chain. Another organization coming in, individuals coming in there, then we are becoming one. So in a way, when that is being done, indirectly, we are doing what we call thorough grassroots mobilization, where it's unfortunate because of the COVID, where we are getting to the people. We're even in the physical sense. I just imagine in when they listen to you, in addition to what they hear on the media, go radio and stuff, that helps a lot. And then to gain political power also, we need quality candidates. We cannot run away from that. Matabeleland now is having, I don't want to describe in the negative sense, but the caliber of people that we have, councillors and everything. Some political parties are just getting people there so that they will say, no, look at these people. How can we give them positions? They are mediocre, as it were. And then we also need to look at the ability to articulate our issues at various levels. Like I have said, it will link with the previous point there. And then self-consciousness. Let's make our people conscious of themselves. Let people know who they are so that we can achieve political power. If we have got the inferiority complex where we think that people from other regions are the ones that are going to help us, then we are having a problem. And then we also need to address the fears of people that are having their political space, who think that their space is going to be taken away. We need to address that also. And then we also need to avail resources for mobilization. Abantu bakithi sebefundiswe ukuthi you should cook something for them. Chicken idliwa rally or meeting. And now they will vote whoever is there. As I'm speaking, Enkai kulondota okuthiwa nguGwemba, that Gwemba is now the DCC for Izanu. Right? You can see ukuthi people uzabathengela nje abenzela okungamachukela abenzela itiye at the end of the day. So we need to ensure ukuthi as iPhutheho, we need to be thinking about those ways, innovative ways of having that. I think enye problem enkulu efuna siyisolve the contestation of political space amongst ourselves. So we need to solve that. I cannot go into detail, being mindful of the time, but I would like to appreciate everything. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yes. Okay, you're
welcome.
Let me check whether there is anybody else. there isn't any party. So, gentlemen, unfortunately, there is no lady here. Because that's what Phutheho must think about going forward. I will give you a minute each to say your concluding remarks, starting with you, Baba Moore.
Ndoboka, Tate Moderator, please allow me to Nditongoleva Shikalanga Ndikhaga Yise Nation Debate and others. Baka inkwedu bagalbe Matabeleland Shikalanga Shikati Yagandaili Wenga Makole. Sorry, Yagandaili Wota Mega Hadugabe Wenga Makole. Which means that when he or she left, he or she wasn't nothing, but when she came back, she was literally pulling the heavens. We have been forcibly diasporized. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but we have been displaced from our lands. But those who are not really at a critical juncture, where do we accept the displacement? I think about 2 weeks ago, I had a discussion in one of our groups in Bulili-Mamanga. There is a movement that has been happening. You'll understand that people from Bulili-Mamanga have been coming to South Africa since like the early 1900s. And a lot of them got documents, became citizens by 1994. And as we speak, a lot of them are now locals in the Northwest province. They've just decided, you know what, I want nothing to do with Zimbabwe. And that is real displacement. It's genocidal displacement. And this is something that it appears the regime that has been in charge of the country for so long intends to see happen and completely replace us and drown us and assimilate us as the Portuguese and the assimilados policy did. So I just want to say to this is about our freedom. Because Omar Laisha are having trouble going via the Beitbridge border post, they've decided not to go via Maitengo border post. Still, they've been followed there. Abantu that have been, we are relying on to deliver foodstuff month after month to our communities. Kugochombo, Kumakorokoro, Makulela, Ndolwane, Togwana, Madlambus. The same Harare government is following us on anything and everything. And we are unable to counter that as long as we do not have political power. Hence, Phutheho calls upon all the people of Matabeleland, from Venda to Victoria Falls, that it's now time to unite in our diversity and rebuild a solid and strong movement to empower ourselves, as Unzobe has just said. It's ours. It's about our people. It's about building a Vorangapanda that will take us as a nation, as nations of Matabeleland. Sibenga Bantu that will be free. Because as things stand right now, we are in a very difficult space. Abandwana Eskolwen, we already know these problems. They're being taught by people that cannot even speak their languages. We know the employment situation. As I speak right now, we have a situation in Bulili-Mamangwe where the DAs, especially in Mangwe, they keep on coming from Mashonaland. Every government department is led by people from outside Matabeleland who have no vested interest in Matabeleland. Ndizwa ke vanhu vakankwedu kudze tiwane kubhudhilila tili vazvagwa veMatabeleland tili vakalanga vanambia vaVenda vaTonga amandebele amaXhosa vaChau vaSuthu vaTswana. We need to stand together in our diversity and say, you know what, this is our only homeland under the sun. There is no other home that we have. Yes, we can be in South Africa, we can be in the UK, Australia, USA, But ultimately, there is one homeland. That homeland is Matabeleland. It needs all of us to stand up for it and do the best of what we can to free ourselves and to free the next generations that will come. We are for such a time as this. Thank you.
Dr. Phutheho, your concluding remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Nkala. I think I spoke a lot today, giving the impression that Phutheho has been leading the Phutheho process, which is really not true. So now I have to tell the truth that this has been teamwork. I only happened because of advanced age that things are deferred to say Phutheho Kuluma. But for instance, I had no contribution on the charter at all. The team that worked on it, led by you, Mr. Efingube, they did a splendid job. So my only task now is to thank the members of the Phutheho Convention Committee, especially my colleague in the running, Mr. Efingube, who should have been here with us, but due to connectivity, he really is not there. He's the one who checked our sessions, and they did a lot of work with the committees too. But I also have to thank you, Mr. Nkala, for giving us this opportunity, for using your facility as a service to Matabeleland as a whole. And we appreciate that. We don't take that for granted. And I will thank all my colleagues who are here. They didn't say the role they've played to make this day a success. I know where I am, what all of them have done up to this time. And we are saying, some of us says Kulile, and we feel the fresh minds and the fresh blood is there. Please pick up the men, guys. And the ladies, you say there are no ladies in this panel. Perhaps I don't know how your invitation went, but Phutheho, the majority are women. I can take you to communities and I'll bring pictures to show that the majority Phutheho members are women, and we are only the runners. So all of you, I would mention by name, please feel thanked. That's my only contribution to say, you set out to do it. I also doubted whether we'll do it because of your own efforts and your commitment. Thank you, Matabeleland.
You are on mute, Baba.
Oh, Babu Fuyani, sorry.
Okay.
Your concluding remarks, Baba Fuyani. Is he still there? Let me just check. Okay, no, it's no longer there. Yeah, I think let us end the program here. However, as you continue with your work, if you feel there is something that you still need to explain, this platform will always be available for you and to you. So use it. Otherwise, thanks very, very much for coming to Matabeleland Broadcasting Corporation. It was really a very good session. We should really give us a lot of information about Phutheho that we were not aware of. I'm really hoping that moving from here, people will move in unison, in unity of purpose as a people of Matabeleland. So thanks very much, Phutheho, and well done for your convention. Thanks very much.
Oh,
okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay.